we also take our baby boys from their mom's arms, and in a hospital setting, it's usually done within 24 to 48 hours. And we remove the most sensitive part of their bodies, of their sexual organs. We literally rip and remove the foreskin from the tip of their penis, which is likened to our clitorises, and just give them back to their moms in a wrapped up little burrito blanket. When I worked in the hospital, I worked in the breastfeeding clinic. And if moms ever came in to me after a circumcision to get breastfeeding help, I knew that there was absolutely no chance that baby was going to breastfeed at that time. The timing of how everything worked, my clinic was from 10 to 12, and they usually did circs at 9 o'clock in the morning. So these babies were like fresh off of just having the most sensitive part of their body ripped off without any anesthetic. Now, tell me, if that was your experience of how you started life, wouldn't you think, like, as an adult, like, wouldn't you think, like, this is so scary out here? Like, how am I, if the number one person that's here to protect me, my mom, just allowed me to be taken out of her arms and strapped to a plastic board, and with no anesthetic, had the most sensitive part of my body cut off. Like, how is anything in this world going to be here to support me? Yeah. How am I worthy of love? How am I enough to have somebody protect me?
This is complete like bro psychology, but I've thought how much of, like, let's just imagine that there is some correlation between circumcision and toxic masculinity.
100%.
There's this overcompensation of an out of balanced masculine expression that comes from a fight response to having pleasure taken from you at birth. Like, again, I'm no expert in this at all, but I have wondered that the more that my brain's been blown pertaining to circumcision, and been like, oh my God, okay, there has to be some connection here. Yeah. Like, guys turn into assholes because they had this really incredible aspect of their own pleasure removed from them immediately.
And not only just pleasure removed, but pain inflicted.
Yeah, totally.
At the onset of their life experience. Yeah, we've gone down the rabbit hole of circumcision and watched documentaries, talked to many different people, and honestly, just like in listening to you, and I want you to continue your thoughts. Like, I like feel like I want to vomit, when I think about it. And I've heard it, likened to female.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's genital mutilization. Yeah. You can't have two apples and call them an apple and an orange. It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah. But for girls, it's called genital mutilation. For boys, it's this fancy medical term called circumcision, which sounds so nice coming out of the mouth.
In our culture, you're weird. If your penis has a hood over it.
Not anymore. Right,
the
circumcision rates have drastically reduced in the Western states, Washington, Oregon, California, Arizona. We're under 20% right now for circumcision.
Wow,
really?
Yeah, and that's because insurance isn't paying for it anymore. It's a cosmetic procedure. So there's some PPOs that will pay for it, but for like Medi-Cal, which most people are on, it's doesn't get paid for, and it's a $600 plus out-of-pocket expense, and people just don't have the means to do that. So, and a lot of the people that are living in the Western states also have the influence of immigration. So all of the Central America, South America, all of those countries don't circumcise. We're the only country that circumcises. It's in the Jewish culture, but the majority of people in the world that are circumcised are American. You go to Europe and they're like, what? You do what?
Yeah. Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly. So I want to bring it back really to the question of how I see that translate over. Now, I know, Mimi, that you just said that you felt like you wanted to vomit. Okay. So your number one job as a mother, your innate everything that you have within you is to protect your child. So remember you said 5 minutes ago that in birth, you recognize that you are able to do anything. You recognize a strength that you've never had before. Now, if you've had a birth that you didn't feel like that, and then you had a baby that was in your arms and everything in your deep intuition, not your cultural awareness up in your head, but your deep intuition in your body, of somebody coming into the room and taking your baby from your arms and doing that, causing physical harm. Like, babies can bleed to death and die from this. It's not a procedure that goes without massive medical risk. talk about another smackdown, right? Like you didn't find that inner strength with your rite of passage of becoming a mother. And now our culture, our industrialized medical system has also just taken away like, nope, we're in control here. We're in control, not you. We're going to do something to your baby that you know isn't right, but we're going to do it. And so that's how we're starting this cycle. And, you know, I can tell you from my experience, you know, I have a 14-year-old son. So I am like deep, thick in it right now with teenagers, and we're the house where all the kids hang out. You know, I call myself teen mom. And I see these kids and I see how some of these kids act in certain situations where, I can look, I know that I know all the kids that don't have their penises cut off in our house because they talk about it. They make fun of the kids they openly talk about it, and they make fun of the kids that are circumcised in a lighthearted way. And I can see the difference in their personalities. Like I can see the difference that like there's some of those boys that won't take shit from anybody. And you know, there's has to be research that's done on it more. There's one study once that I saw that talked about people that were in jail on death row, and a researcher went in and asked who was circumcised. There was other factors, but it was like this. It was a really high statistic. It was like, you know, 80% of the people that were in death row for aggressive murder were circumcised. And it makes sense to me. Like, it totally makes sense to me. Like, we have these deep, deep, deep wounds, and the person that was supposed to protect us didn't protect us. And so I feel like we imprint with that. And I'm not saying that if you're circumcised, you're going to turn into a mass murder psychopath, but
right. Yeah. I'm circumcised. Yeah.
But you have to realize that there has to be some correlation between trauma throughout that person's life and how it plays into whatever it is. Like, it might just be like, you know, there might be some shame around sexuality. There might be some shame around finding pleasure with sex. Like there's going to be these little things that come up. And unless you're aware of those things, they'll continue to be there throughout the rest of your life. But yeah, it's a pretty aggressive, harsh way to start life. And it definitely has an impact. And I wish that we had an ability to really consciously look at how deep that impact is.
Yeah, it's so interesting because as you're talking about all these different interventions, I'm thinking that, you know, all these things that seem normal or are considered common, average, normal, like just what you do. This is just what you do in America. This is just how it goes. You go to a hospital, you have these things done. Yeah, a lot of people get induced. It's really common. It's really normal. Yeah, a lot of people have cesareans. It's really common. It's really normal. A lot of people get, you know, they get their son circumcised. It's really common. It's really normal. You see this trend of these things that we think are normal. They might be common, yes, but are they normal? Are they natural? Are they even fucking necessary?
Thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed that, check out right over here for some more fun clips.
Oh, and you're going to want to subscribe.
Bye.